Welcome to the final round of the third annual Equitable Futures Case competitions. Our judges are Lita Beard, an associate teaching professor of marketing, Ernest Kendliji, the deputy general manager of King County Metro, Samir Sa, a senior manager at Deloitte, Maggie Zhang, senior consultant at Deloitte, Sahil Joshi, manager at Deloitte, and Deeprashri Malai, a manager at Deloitte. Reminder, you may only use the slide deck you submitted. The final round is being recorded, and if there are any students here from the final teams, please leave the room as the final teams are not allowed to watch other final presentations to be fair. Your team has 10 minutes to present. I will hold up a sign when there are 5 and 1 minute left. When time is up, I'll open the floor for the judges for 5 minutes of Q&A, and at the end of the Q&A session, there will be 5 minutes of feedback. Your team now has 10 minutes to present.
The World Cup is a global phenomenon that brings together millions of fans from around the world. However, many of these fans face barriers when it comes to attending and enjoying these games. Hi, I'm James Lin.
I'm Brian Go.
I'm Christian Basilio.
Hi, I'm Shubham Garg.
In light of the World Cup coming summer 2026, we can expect over 750,000 diverse visitors coming from over 50 different countries to flood the streets of Seattle.
Well, technology and transportation, assisting mobility restricted individuals. Now, rather than increasing our bus fleet size with hybrid vehicles, our proposal is to have 300 battery electric bus with contracts for lease-to-own contracts with Gillard, as it will work to help provide for our current short-term goal of the FIFA tournament, along with our long-term goal to have 100% zero-emission fleets by 2035. Now, similar to our app solution, we want to use current infrastructure that is available and use those resources to drive our solutions. The way that this can be seen in our solution for transportation is with the current Tukwila charging bus base that is in production and under construction, which will finish in fall 2025. Along battery electric buses in total and chargers. And while it will help to increase the transit bus fleet size for King County Metro, as FIFA is such a large event, we proposed an additional 300 battery electric buses to make sure we will be able to provide ADA accessible transportation for a wide variety of audiences and the greater audience that we will be facing with. Moving on, I'll pass it on to you, Brian.
Thank you, Christian. Let's talk about the ups and downs of our solution. Quickly, it is very accessible, it's robust, and it's easy to implement because it draws from what's already there. However, it's also weak in the sense that it uses a lot of technology, leaving out the demographic that is less tech savvy. As well as also, we're bringing in new buses, which means that we also need new chargers, and that also creates the complexity of trying to keep all buses running and charged at all times. However, this is also a good thing because with more buses and vessels that are net zero carbon, this positively affects ESG in a good way. And this can be very appealing for our stakeholders as well. Now, there are also things that oppose us too. The biggest one being time. With just a deadline of under 2 years, we need to act quick. And there also comes risk in the cybersecurity space with things such as viruses and hacking that could potentially hinder app development. There's also the fear of potential World Cup delays, as prolonged leasing could drive up our costs. Now passing it on to Shubham for the timeline.
All right, thank you, Brian. Now, let's get Project FIFA into a 60-month project timeline. So first off, our first prompt, app development, right? So we have to do first outreach, so working with transit and setting our expectations. Then we need to work on prototyping and designing, so focusing on our UI, our user interface, our user experience, and then actually developing that in the development stage where we're actually coding it and building our expectations into our development and code. And then we have to finalize the app with user testing and actually launching it onto iOS or Android app stores. But simultaneously, we have to work on prompt 2, which is fleet expansion. First off, we have to get that contract nailed down and loaded because we have to make sure we have those 300 buses near the game time. Then we need to make sure that the Toccoa base is constructed and soft launched because we need to maintain, house, and charge those buses. And then closer to the 16 months, about a month or half a month before, we want to make sure we have those 300 buses on hand. Now, let's break down some revenues, and financials. So, revenue. So we're basing the revenue off of 5 games, and we are slated to make $12.4 million. Now, let's break down some costs. Now, with costs, what we've done is we've broken it into capital expenditure and operational expenditure. With capital expenditure, we are slated to have $11.3 million in that. And in operational expenditures, we are slated to have about $137K or 1,000. But as you can see, buses are the main driver of the costing. Now let's move on to the return on investment. So as we can see on the slide, our total cost is coming out to be $11.5 million. Our total revenue is coming out to be $12.4 million, and our net returns are $950K. And our return on investment comes out to be 8.2%. Now, I can go over all the nuances in more detail in a question and answer. Now, let's get back to Brian.
Thank you, Shubham. There's some risks. Let's address them. First, we acknowledge that there's a heavy partnership reliance with transit. However, in the event that this is not available, we did our research and we found that King County is currently partnered with a similar app called One Bus Away. Happy to answer more in the Q&A about that. Secondly, we want to address that it is very technology-oriented, and as I was mentioning, it's not very friendly to those who are not oriented with technology. We want to mitigate this risk by using a UI/UX-friendly approach to make this more accessible to that demographic. We want to include things like one-tap navigation and multilingual voice recognition for searching, QR codes, and things of that nature. Thirdly, I briefly overviewed that we're bringing more buses, and it's going to be very hard to charge those buses with that increased capacity. So we did our research and we found that there is a gap between games. So we want to create a schedule to cycle on and off charging to make sure that those buses are periodically charged, ready to go, and loaded. Lastly, more people coming means that there's more traffic congestions. It's going to be hard to get people to where they want to go on time. So we want to create an in-app shuttle feature where riders can meet ahead of time at bus stops to meet and go to their events before the traffic comes in and get them on time. Now I want to pass it on to James.
Yeah, so how will we measure the relative success of our solutions? We've identified some key performance indicators that we'd love to share. First one being the satisfaction rating. This will be collected through post-usage surveys baked into the app. Next would be user engagement. This measures the amount of time users are engaging with and spending on World Cup specific features. So this will give us a gauge if King County wants to implement this feature for future big events in the future.
All right, Thank you, James. Moving on, the second set of KPIs that we have are mainly focused on mobility-restricted individuals. For the first one, we have 90% of our battery electric buses active during the World Cup FIFA game days. And this one is primarily to make sure we can assess that our investment in buses is using the greater extent of it to provide accessible ADA transportation. Our second metric for the KPI that we're going to look at is a 20% reduction in accessibility complaints. This one is a primary way that we want to see how others and our consumers specifically are seeing and feeling the impact on themselves for mobility restriction assistance. I'll now pass it on to Brian.
Thank you, Christian. Time is ticking and we need to act fast. So we want to create a solution that draws from what's already there to mitigate that. By rethinking our physical and digital infrastructure, we can create a centralized app equipped with multilingual features to help our LEPs and creating a new fleet of electric buses with net zero carbon emissions to equip with ADA-friendly features to help our mobility-restricted individuals. These two things are built for the test of time. As an app, we can continue to develop even after the event, as well as also contributing to a positive carbon footprint in that summer, positively boosts ESG permanently forever. Hence, FIFA is designed to withstand the test of time. Thank you. Now opening up for Q&A.
Great presentation.
Thank you very much.
Great presentation. You did a lot of
The winner of the final round will be announced by 4:20 p.m. Please join us in this room at that time for the award ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There are 5 and 1 minute left. When the time is up, I'll open the floor for the judges for 5 minutes of Q&A, and at the end of the Q&A sessions, there will be 5 minutes of feedback. Your team now has 10 minutes to present.
During his nomination hearing in 2013, former U.S. Secretary of Transportation Anthony Foxx stated, whether it is a bus route, a road, a train, a plane, or a ship, our transportation system at its best connects our people to a better quality of life. Hi, my name is Genevieve, and I'm here today with my teammates, Jennifer, Carlos, and Alice. Here's our agenda for today. In just over a year, Seattle will become one of the global stages for the FIFA 2026, welcoming thousands of visitors from around the world. And a world-class event requires a world-class transportation system. For King County Metro, this is not just about increasing bus capacity. It's also about accessibility, affordability, and equity, ensuring that mobility-restricted and limited English proficiency individuals can navigate our transit system with ease. But accessibility is not a problem to be solved. It's a culture to be built. That is why today our team presents to you an actionable strategy that will enhance every rider experience. Taking those into consideration, alongside with the financial viability, our team has developed a two-pronged recommendation. First, establishing new shuttle hubs. Second, expanding the Transit Go app. With these proposed solutions, we believe that King County Metro will be able to provide accessible, fast, and reliable transit, centralize their digital solutions, and also increase public transportation adoption. I'm going to pass on to Jennifer for further analysis.
Thank you, Genevieve. FIFA is not just a sporting event. It's a global phenomenon. With over 2 billion visitors, it's the world's most watched sporting event. Seattle is expecting up to 750,000 visitors, with 40% of those visitors relying on public transport. In our analysis, we conducted a SWOT analysis. King County Metro already has a strong foundational framework with ADA compliant services as well as multilingual resources. However, some key considerations emerged, including financial constraints, especially in regards to infrastructure investment, as well as adoption risk carried over by foreign investors. Despite these concerns, some key opportunities are also present, including investing in expanding the Transit Go app, as well as investing in brand partnerships. As we move forward and prepare for the FIFA 2026, some key priorities include mobility accessibility, LEP inclusivity, as well as addressing event congestion mitigation. Thank you. I'll pass it back to Genevieve.
Thank you, Jennifer. I want to re-emphasize our two main target group, mobility restricted and LEP individuals. With that, our suggestions are as follows. First, establishing new shuttle hubs. Second, expanding the Transit Go app. Let's first dive into our first proposed solutions, the shuttle hubs. We propose that King County Metro develop two new key routes, namely the Game and City lines, with 4 and 8 stops respectively. Here's a better look of the routes on the visualization map. We have also developed a detailed time schedule and shuttle stops for all of these routes, but we'll go deeper into that in the Q&A section. Now let's move forward. We're probably thinking, what are the vehicle options? Like, how are they accommodating for these routes? We have decided that, according to our research, please keep in mind this is for mobility restricted individuals. So we have researched and decided that the dial-a-ride transit would be our best option for rerouting purposes. Why did we come to this conclusion? Let's take a look at our decision matrix. I want to point out two key dimensions that we want to look into. First, accessibility option within these existing vehicles. Second, the utilization of these vehicles. Especially, we want to target underutilized services so that it does not affect the large group of people who are currently utilizing these services. For example, the bus, traditional bus that we have. Moving forward to our app, what does the expansion going to look like for Transit Go? Here is a mock-up of what we believe King County Metro should launch before FIFA 2026. 3 key features I will emphasize. First, language option, alongside with the read aloud feature. Second, we want to enable more accessible options within this app, including MetroFlex, Access, and Dart. Third, we want to enable real-time updates on accessibility issues. For example, the elevator is broken at the transit stop, and upcoming events so that people can plan their trip better. We believe that with these proposed solutions, King County Metro will be able to empower every rider, especially LEP and mobility restricted individuals. Now I'm going to pass on to Carlos for implementation.
Thank you, Genevieve. Now let's dive into implementation. We have developed the following timeline for our proposed implementation of the shuttle hubs and Transit Go expansion. I'd like to draw your attention to the following. We propose launching the Transit Go expansion 2 months prior to the start of FIFA. This is because we can grow engagement and overall develop a strong marketing plan prior to this. Secondly, the shuttle hubs can be launched in a 2-step approach, starting first with the City line, which will launch 2 weeks prior to the start of FIFA, and the Game line, which will launch the week of FIFA. Moving on, we've identified 4 key risks to our proposed recommendation. These risks include, number 1 being low app adoption. In order to accommodate for this, King County Metro can develop brand partnership and an overall marketing plan. Secondly, technical issues. Technical issues can be accommodated for by having a controlled and overall performing multiple beta testing throughout the process. Secondly, the effect that rerouting will have overall as in our infrastructure. This can be mitigated by overall focusing on low or targeting underutilized routes. And finally, not having enough and adequate personnel and individuals supporting at these shuttle hub stops. This can be accommodated by adding additional personnel during the week of FIFA. Now, let's talk about KPIs. We've identified 4 key KPIs to measure the efficiency and productivity of our recommendation. This includes, number 1, on-time performance. Number 2, the usage of LEP and ADA individuals on our app, and overall, the percentage of real-time transit information and notifications at the time, and overall customer satisfaction. Now, moreover, we believe that with our proposed recommendation and implementation plan, King County Metro can create a strong and impactful and overall lasting impact by providing accessible resources, providing real-time multilingual support, and overall by increasing the use of public transportation. Now I'll pass it on to Alice for financials.
Thank you, Carlos. Now I'll be covering some financials, beginning with some of our key assumptions, highlighting our main key assumption of there being 750,000 incoming visitors to the city of Seattle. This is important because this will double almost the population of Seattle, driving more revenues, more costs, and a higher demand for public transit. Now, looking at some of our short-term costs for the Shuttle Hub project. This is projected over the span of 5 months, and here are the revenues as well. Our main revenue driver being the shuttle fare that we will charge on these shuttle routes. Together, this brings in a discounted net benefit of around $414,000 in the short term. Now moving on to our long-term project, here are our long-term costs, projected over a 5-year time span for the revamp of our Transit Go mobile app. Here are our revenues as well, with our main revenue driver being the in-app feature connected to our digital wallet of purchasing tickets. And together, this brings in a discounted net cash flow of $595,000 in the long term. For a side-by-side comparison, looking at the short-term cost-benefit analysis compared with the long-term, we'd like to highlight something. Our solutions are not only impactful, but also cost-efficient. Now on to Genevieve for our conclusion.
Judges, Seattle is preparing itself to welcome the world to FIFA 2026, and the demand for higher accessible transit option is at an all-time high. The key question is, how can King County Metro rise to the challenge? We believe that with our proposed solutions, shuttle hubs, and expanding the Transit Go, King County Metro will be able to provide fast, accessible, and reliable transit, centralizing their digital solutions and increase public transportation adoption. So judges, invest in King County Metro. Invest in an equitable future for us all. Thank you.
Wow. It keeps getting better. Great presence and well-researched, very practical solution or proposed solutions. The shuttle hubs is a great concept. What made you choose shuttle hubs instead of big buses?
Yeah, we actually took into account in our appendix slide why we decided not to choose, adding additional buses. Overall reasoning is because of this limited timeline that we have, it's not really feasible for us to, take on trying to, using our resources trying to accommodate and spend a lot of capital to get all of these buses in here. So obviously, it would be more useful to use and take advantage of our current resources and adapt accordingly.
We also look into the system utilization data on the website of King County Metro and see that DART is currently underutilized compared to bus transit system. So we already identified several potential routes. Yeah, thank you.
great presentation. Really love the way how you arrange the deck. I got a quick question about the your long-term solution. So your long-term solution is having a new transit goal application. So I want to learn more about how is this app going to address the accessibility issue.
Yes. Genevieve can answer this question for you.
So one of the problems we have is we can always have more people, having more access to, for example, a translation on the bus. But people, whenever they go, it's not always accessible to them. But we always have our phone on our hand. So what is important for us is to be able to have people know where we're changing our routes, especially for my parents, they don't know English. So whenever they're on the bus, they wouldn't know if the bus driver is announcing it. So with their phone, their app, and we have the translate options for them, including with the real-time updates on, if we're changing the routes. When people read in their language, it'll be easier for them to access those. And like whenever they go, they will feel like they're confident going alone on our transportation system.
So just a follow-up question. So how about physical constraint? People who will also need to use the app or like be on the bus?
Do you mean for like mobility restricted individuals? Yeah. So with our app, you can also see here that we have accessibility options here. So we know that there's a separate app for MetroFlex, which a lot of people, it's not really marketed for people compared to if you see on the app store. Transit Go is so much more well known. So if we integrate that into our Transit Go application where they can see, oh yeah, I can search for more accessible options. Maybe we don't integrate right away, but we can lead them to a link to the app of MetroFlex where they can download it and use it. I think it will be helpful for them too, especially when it comes to like knowing the app exists and we can support them with these services.
Hi, nice job. I have a question though. If we have 750,000 people coming, how is DART going to be able to supply that? And how will it affect the people that actually use DART or the other lines when you're taking away their mode of transportation?
Yeah. So we did take into account, again, when proposing the routes and rerouting of these DART buses or DART vans, we took into account and focused on the implementation and overall statistics on underutilized routes. As you can see, rural and DART has a small utilization of about 5.4 per hour of individual. So all of these routes that we are taking away from are very underutilized overall. And we also want to emphasize that there are other forms of transportation, like overall, your regular bus, and there's also access services that these individuals in these communities who may be using these DART buses that we are rerouting can use and take advantage of.
So overall, fantastic, opening, that was amazing. Have you considered any contingencies? What kind of contingencies have you considered in terms of infrastructure, schedule, financials?
Yeah, so we've kind of, to talk about schedule, to your point, we've developed the following schedule plan. In this schedule plan, we have our buses routing every 10 to 15 minutes. So it is constrained to a complete loop around of 11 complete loops. And the final stop being at Seattle Center. We have the constraint as in time-wise. The bus starts at 6 a.m. and will be ending at 12 a.m. for the city line. The reason why we don't have a schedule for the game line is just because we don't currently have the times set in place for the FIFA games. We just know the week of and the dates of.
Yeah, I should have been clear. My question about contingency was on the schedule to implement the solution proposal.
Oh, okay, timeline. Yeah. We kind of gave King County Metro a lot of leeway when it comes to this timeline. When it comes to app adoption, or we're not exactly creating a new app. We're just accommodating and adapting King County Metro's current app. So there is already infrastructure in place. So all of these, the timeline, especially development, is where we thought of would be like our biggest concern or constraint when it comes to the overall completion of this recommendation. So we gave an entire 6 months of time for development. So I would think out of all constraints or all things that may set back the implementation of these recommendations, it would probably be overall development. When it comes to shuttle hubs, it's very fast to be able to reroute, and they have current infrastructure, especially with the routes that we decided to select. There are transportation areas and sections and overall accessible options in these locations, so it'll be really quick for King County Metro to adapt.
Thank you. This concludes the Q&A session, and there will now be a 5-minute feedback session.
Again, great work. Feedback. I appreciate you picking shuttle hubs because, as you indicated through your research, it's underutilized, and that is a fact. So that's a great opportunity for us to optimize our network. So I don't think from a cost perspective that would be out of our ability to support. So I think it might fit well with your budget. I also like your focus on optimizing the system. What I appreciate most about your schedule is the fact that you have a city line and a game line. Why? You find out when events as big as FIFA come to cities, what happens to the local folks? Mm-hmm. They feel displaced because you have a lot of guests in your city, but we want our residents to still have access to the essential services that we provide. So I appreciate you creating those two lines to ensure that you are capturing the residents and also our guests. So great work.
Thank you.
First of all, great presentation. It was great to watch. I'm going to comment a little bit on the presentation itself, not your case response. I think some of the things that you did really well was the opening. Started off very well. You had an agenda set for this. You talked about accessibility, and there was a good quote you began with as well. You had the breadcrumbs throughout, so I could follow what was going on all through the slides. Did a recap at the end, again, pretty good. One of the areas that I would say you should work on is the actual presentation. Like all of you were standing here trying to, talk through what you have already memorized. There is no reason to do that. Second thing is, right, when you're doing that, do I listen to you or do I look at what's on the slides? It would have been great, for you to stand next to the slides and walk me through it. Hey, this is what we have here. This is what we have here. Makes it a lot easier to understand. And second thing, talking specifically about the case now, is I think in some of the solutions that you considered, right, you could have also talked about what you could do with external partners. Like what Ernest was saying, right, there's a lot of congestion already. People go to the office in downtown. Maybe you work with Amazon and tell them to announce a work from home day on those work, right, to reduce some congestion and, give you the flexibility to deploy those buses elsewhere. Or you work with the Seattle Police Department to set up some one-ways around the area. So it would have been nice to look at here, maybe these are 2-3 things that we could do. We didn't have time for it, so we didn't talk about it, and that's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Genevieve, your opening was like fantastic. It's so connecting and then very clear. Presentation content-wise was great. Breadcrumb was like very helpful. The bus, this is just a nitpicking there. The bus, maybe, make it move from left to right. The icon. Sorry, I know. No, take that on the lighter note. This is fabulous, as is. And the game line and city line was the highlight, that's the most striking point. So that was fantastic. I know 10 minutes is not a lot, so a little bit more on the, after the event is over, how, the waste basically would be the least so that there is no throwaway kind of thing. How do you manage, that kind of the wasteful expenses and then the impact to the environment perspective. But overall, fantastic work, teamwork, and then from content to presentation.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing on the time?
We have 30 seconds left.
All right. I'll finish really in 30 seconds. So, amazing job. Good presentation. I agree with Sahil's feedback as well. You actually had wonderful closing, wonderful opening. So, great job there. I also understand that 10 minutes is such a small time to go through so much information. So, it kind of felt a little rushed, specifically with the finances. And I do understand a lot of work has gone behind the scenes on that one. So, definitely would like to see more on the appendix, but overall, all in all, amazing job.
Thank you so much.
Team, thank you for your hard work in preparing for the competition. The winner of the final round will be announced by 4:20 p.m. Please join us in this room at the time for the award ceremony.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Hello.
Leave the room as final teams are not allowed to watch other teams' presentations. Your team has 10 minutes to present. I will hold up a sign when there are 5 and 1 minute left. When the time is up, I'll open the floor for judges for 5 minutes of Q&A, and at the end of the Q&A session, there'll be 5 minutes for feedback. Your team now has 10 minutes to present. Just want to make sure. All right, good. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and listen to us. We're going to hop right into introductions. My name's Colin.
I'm Miles.
I'm Lillian. I'm Candy.
And we're really excited to be here today to talk to you about our recommendations for the King County Metro improvements. Hopping right into the content, we're just going to get into some of the key demographics that we wanted to address with these accessibility changes. There's 2 main groups that we think need to be addressed. The first is LEP, or limited English proficiency individuals, and the second is mobility restricted or disabled individuals. Go on. We're going to start with some quick analysis of what we think we wanted to take into account to make our recommendations. Starting with some strengths, we want to take advantage of the robust network of accessibility features that King County Metro already has in place, as well as the long-term plans they have, such as, for example, the 30-year plan to renovate all elevators and escalators. We think that there's a lot of long-term plans in place, and we wanted to make something that fits into the short term because we think there's a lot of gaps in the short-term plan for accessibility. Additionally, we wanted to address the staffing issues that prevent a lot of the current features from working at their full capacity. Moving a little forward, we're going to talk about some opportunities that we want to focus on highlighting to you guys. Over 20% of King County reports being disabled or limited mobility, and 30% reports being LEP, or not speaking English as their first language. These are massive bases of customers that aren't currently being tapped to their fullest potential and sees a lot of potential for revenue growth if we access them. Some threats that we want to focus on is that there's a really short timeline to make improvements prior to the 2026 FIFA games, so we need to do things quickly. Moving on. With that in mind, we're going to focus on a 3-part recommendation. The first is to consolidate all online resources for King County Metro into a single accessible app. The second is to roll out short-term accessibility features at all metro stations and bus stops in King County. Finally, we want to accompany that with a marketing campaign to raise awareness and to grow our staff and to have a staffing drive in order to fix those staffing issues. Moving right into the app, we want to highlight that when you go onto the King County Metro website, there's currently over 12 apps available for download to help you navigate the system, as well as information on the website. It is a convoluted, confusing system that is only in English. I mean, there's some limited Spanish translations, primarily in English. It's not very accessible. So we want to bring it all into a one-stop shop for navigation, accessibility alerts, ticket sales, and translation services. Diving a bit deeper into the features that we want this app to have, we want to start with the translation services. We think that it would be most effective to use AI to do the initial translations and then vet it with the existing crowdsourcing translation network that King County Metro already has. Following that, we want to have accessibility alerts that allow riders to know when the accessibility features in individual stations are not available, and then navigation systems that can help them find alternative routes around those stations. We also want to have it to be a hub for ticket sales in order to streamline the process for everybody who's trying to use the Metro system. Pass it on to Miles.
To promote the app and its accessibility features, we suggest that you partner with local news networks such as Cairo 7, King 5, Como 4, and ask them if they would be willing to run news stories about your app. We believe that this would be a superior solution to traditional TV advertising because it engages more directly with the audience, they're less likely to see it as a commercial and more likely to see it as a genuine solution to a problem. We'd also like you to take a look at social media promotion, using the underutilized KC Metro social media to post banners and reels advertising the app and accessibility, as well as collaborating with the City of Seattle, which has a much larger following and will allow you to reach a broader audience, as well as disability and LEP community group accounts. Finally, we would like you to recognize that that King County Metro has a lot of existing infrastructure that allows for great opportunities for advertising. The interiors and exteriors of buses, light rail systems, and the stations themselves lend quite easily to mass advertising. But no marketing strategy is complete without assessing the stakeholders. And our most important stakeholders in this case are the LEP and disability groups. Here, King County Metro should partner with some groups and try to address them directly by hosting workshops, training them how to use the accessible services, and also getting their feedback as to how they can improve. A couple of these groups could be El Centro de la Raza, which is a Latino group in Seattle, as well as the Here and Now project, which is on the bottom right.
Another accessibility solution that we propose are station improvements. First, it would be pamphlets. These pamphlets would be at news stations, at bus and train stations throughout the county. They would have transit routes and schedules translated into the top 6 languages in King County. They would be connected to our app, which will accommodate for other less commonly spoken languages in the county. In our app, there will also be virtual guides, 3D maps of transit routes, and step-by-step visual instructions on how to use the transit system. This will act as an alternative to a live language assistance and can help curb some cultural barriers. Here's an example of the pamphlet translated in Korean. You can see that the map legend, the bus routes, and the description are all translated, and our QR code is in the bottom right. Next is signage. We want to expand bus and link signage to include Spanish and Chinese throughout the entire county. The electronic screens you see in the link stations expressing updates and delays will rotate between English and the top 3 languages spoken in that station area. Language projection will be determined on if over 5% of the area's population speaks that language at home. So using demographic maps that you see on the left can help determine what kind of languages need to be projected on the board. Next, moving on to limited vision assistance, we want to install tactile indicators, which are systems of pavers with raised edges lined in a pattern to act as a guide for the visually impaired. These tactile strips will go from buses to trains and trains to buses because a lot of visually impaired riders have cited that a lack of indicators outside of stations has been a key issue. This will be building on SDOT's 2024 Tactile Walking Service Indicators project. This is how our limited vision assistance will work. There will be a strip leading to the entrance door of the buses, caution fields, anti-slip surfaces, and a guiding strip from buses to trains.
Another opportunity for expanding King County Metro's accessibility options is by expanding the circulator bus route. Currently, as you can see on the left, there are 7 bus routes. They primarily go around downtown between the different health facilities. But with the 2026 World Cup upcoming, we were thinking that there is a lot of opportunity for tourism as well for people who need a wheelchair or other disability. So we added 2 new stations. One at the top left you could see is the Space Needle, and at the bottom is Lumen Field. This would add about 7 minutes to the route, but these increases in time could be mitigated by having 1 to 2 buses go clockwise and 1 to 2 go counterclockwise, which would overall make travel a lot more convenient for people.
And in terms of marketing, we think about to create a short video hiring campaign to promote on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube to reach potential demographics. So in this short video, it contains 4 key elements. We'll be opening why we need you, perks of the job, and calling to action. So it is important to focus on why we need you and perks of the job to associate with the FIFA World Cup and also showcase the urgency of the employment and show the candidate's potential benefit and long-term employment with King County Metro. And next, as we did some statistic, 2024 ridership summaries, there's around 87 average monthly ridership, and King County Metro has around 348 vehicles, which calculate there's one vehicle has 8.34 rides per day, which that's indicate there's more space to spare. So we need more drivers, not more vehicles. And as you can see, we created a potential Instagram post for the employment, and remember to associate with the drive of the game, which indicate is FIFA World Cup, and also just posting on Indeed Handshake LinkedIn for some job posting. And as talking about risk and mitigation, the first one, interruption of regular services. It is important for King County Metro to have specific and also gradual schedule rolling out to ensure advanced notification for people who are doing daily commutes, so there's no interruptions. And for issue with app rollout, it's important to have the 12 existing apps and as a backup. And lastly, failure of hiring campaign, just to create specific schedule and of the current staffing and let them know their overall responsibilities. And implementation timeline, we need to focus on app development and translation services to ensure these two are the priorities. And lastly, talking about finances, the overall total estimated cost will be $668K. So there's a lot of marketing expenses since we need to do a consistent marketing ad posting.
Real quick, we'll want to look at a few key performance index to be aware of. We're going to be looking at the percent change for access transportation and ridership, as well as the circulator bus, the increase in the number of bus drivers following our staff campaign, how often the app is used, and the feedback we receive from polls, as well as the percentage of drivers working overtime, which we hope decreases from 30%. And we'll also be looking at the percentage of access rides that come on time, that is within 15 minutes of scheduled time. It's currently at 90%, but there's room for improvement.
Thank you guys so much. Happy to answer any questions.
We will now begin with a 5-minute Q&A session.
Thank you very much. Another creative potential solution for us. I appreciate the presentation, the opening, and your focus area. This is one of many opportunities that we have as an organization to get ready for FIFA, but truly long-term sustainability of our operation. So I appreciate you focusing on those pieces. And you did great research into our organization. My key takeaway from this presentation, you said we don't need more buses, we need more bus operators. I will take that. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, really nice job, team. I've got a couple questions for you. One was on mobility access. I saw and I really liked your solution for the visual part of it, but there's other parts of disability that might need to be addressed. Did you want to talk a little bit more about those things?
Yeah, so I mean, I believe another group that you might be referencing is people with limited mobility, people who may be in wheelchairs or on crutches or something like that. A lot of our considerations for that is that the solutions to those problems are long-term elevators, escalators, and there are solutions in the works. So we tried to create a temporary patch for that. And in terms of their access to buses, the buses themselves actually have a lot of robust systems to assist them. But again, bus drivers and the lack of staffing to properly utilize those mechanics. So we want to address that, and we think that that will go a long way to help them and individuals like that.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question to follow up. There's going to be about 750,000 people coming into Seattle for FIFA. Do we need more buses? It didn't sound like you thought that was the case. Maybe you can expand on that, or how are you going to supply that demand?
I don't think we need more buses. I think based on the statistic, each bus only do around like 8.34 ride rides per day. So I think there's need more consistent scheduling of the bus drivers so they can take in shift time by time so they're not overworked, and also understanding there's a lot of people coming to Seattle. They're going to be foreigners. It's important to have specific people who has language support or people who have the specific culture as bus drivers so they can help the international communities coming to Seattle for the FIFA World Cup. And I just believe that because we're trying to make sure there's no delays on the traffic and also any just any, I could say, difficulties with the King County Metro, we don't want to add more money to buy more buses. So I think adding more staff or just having specific schedule for current staff will really going to help the overall operation smooth.
I also think it's important that we do not over-adjust to the World Cup because while it is a significant event, it's going to be over in a matter of weeks, and we don't want to have a bunch of extra buses just sitting around after that.
Thank you.
Great presentation. Love every aspect of it. I got a quick question about the implementation timeline because we mentioned that we want to hire like additional driver. Like, have we considered like the training time across the board, and also who gonna be seasonal? If they're gonna be seasonal, just serve us for like 2 weeks, or if we want to change it into a full-time role for all of them. So, would you mind elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, we believe the issue with drivers is systemic. It's a big issue throughout King County Metro, and it's definitely not something that's going to be unique to this event. The event is going to highlight the issue, but it's been an issue, and we predict it will continue to be an issue. So, yeah, training time is a factor, but we believe that this year-long horizon, beginning of Q3 to midway through Q2 is enough time to get staff on and train them up.
Thank you.
Of course.
Great presentation and then ideas. We're gonna have some of these are gonna be really actually into the implementation. What are some of the major risks that you came across in terms of I couldn't kind of capture with clarity?
The major risks will be interruption of regular services, since we're going to do a lot of station renovations. So it is important to understand a large of community in Seattle is based on the commuting of the link and the buses. So if we can give them a specific schedule or advance notification, so people can plan out the all commute by daily. And the second is, since we're really promoting the all-in-one app, we want to make sure if having a new app, the problem will be inevitable. So just making sure those 12 apps that existing will slowly shut down part of it, but still some of them can still working, treat it as a backup system. And lastly is, if the hiring campaign doesn't work, so people doesn't want to be a bus driver, I don't think that's going to be the case. We're just going to focus on the current staffing, just letting them know they have a specific responsibilities, they're going to have a specific schedules, and their changing shift replacement shift is going to be really smooth out. So doing no matter FIFA World Cup or longer, I could say long term, is going to be fine.
Thank you. Thank you, judges. This concludes the Q&A session. There will now be a 5-minute feedback session.
Okay, really nice job, team. I know you worked really hard on this, and you came up with some pretty creative ideas that I'd like to share. I like the all-in-one app where you took what is already there and you're going to expand and make it better, and it'll be a little bit less confusing for users to use it. So I thought that was a really strong point. I like being able to use AI for the translation part of it. And the other part was the marketing part of using local TV stations or radio stations for public relations, which won't have fees associated with those, and using social media. So you had some really good ideas. I think if I had to give you a suggestion, I would maybe focus a little bit more, even though it's not going to be the end all for that period of time, but we still were going to have 750,000 people here, that we got to make sure that we're not only accommodating them, but making sure it's not a big disruption to the people that are living in Seattle.
Thank you.
Again, great work. I like the creativity. You are looking at optimizing our system, and your data points to the underutilized nature of our resources. I truly like the idea of no money, no people, no space. Go figure it out. And you are trying to work within those constraints, which I think you came out with some creative ideas. I like the all-in-one app. It is truly confusing when you have to touch many different spaces for the same type of information. So if that comes to fruition, I think we are going to be very, very efficient in getting people around. I like the idea of looking at ways to reduce overtime. As we all know, when you overwork people, there's the potential of accidents. There's the potential of low morale. But I also like the idea that you acknowledge the opportunity in our hiring. And you didn't shy away from emphasizing that we can hire people for a long time, long-term employment, because we do have part-time roles, we do have full-time driving roles, but we currently we have a gap that needs to be filled. For the next few years, we still need to bring in at least 1,040 brand new operators to augment our system. So not only do we need them now or need them in time for FIFA, but we need them for the long-term viability of our system. So that is an opportunity for us. What I would have liked to hear is how you're going to attract those people to come work with us. We have great benefits. Everybody knows that. We pay well.
I thought that's a question.
Everybody knows that. But why aren't we able to attract more brand new operators?
Sorry.
Okay, I will take that in consideration. So scared.
Okay, great job. Very creative solution. I think we spent a little longer time on marketing when this case was being addressed. Major part of the problem statement was also how will you address 750,000 crowd that is coming in Seattle, and then considering the amount of folks, they will be spread out across in the other areas as well. So something to address that. We could have used some time from the presentation on that one, because even if it is seasonal, it will need to be addressed. Another thing that I was considering, that we talked about visually impaired and challenged infrastructure upgrades. Lita briefly highlighted that we need to consider more accessibility aspects beyond that. And additionally, the app rollout. So I have a feedback on your timeline. You said that by Q2 2026, the app rollout will happen. You do not have enough time to market that ahead then. By then, FIFA is already on. This is a very good timeline for King County Metro in general, but specifically for that duration of time, we need to address the adaptability as well. So, just a few there.
Still have time?
20 seconds. There you go.
Yeah. Well, what stood out for me was you had one slide on the limited vision accessibility to show the real scenario. So that was very powerful. And you not only talked about the accessibility issues, actually named them specific ones. So that shows all the great and the detailed research that you all did. So, and then I have one comment on that 8.34, the uses for the vehicle. Initially, I was like, oh yeah, totally makes sense. I compared with the airplane on the ground kind of metric, but bus is different here, right? It doesn't run like around the clock mostly. So something to look at, what is the right or optimal metric in terms of, if not 8.34, what is that? It's a 12 and all that. So how far, whatever is the leverage, will that give enough to cover for all, or you really need more buses?
Team, thank you for your hard work in preparing for the competition. The winner of the final round will be announced by 4:20 p.m. Please join us in this room at the time of the race.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Samir Sa, Senior Manager at Deloitte, Maggie Zhang, Senior Consultant at Deloitte, Sahil Joshi, Manager at Deloitte, and Diprashi Malay, Manager at Deloitte. Reminder, you may only use the slide deck you submitted. The final round is being recorded, and if there are any students here from the final teams, please leave the room as the final teams are not allowed to watch each other's presentation. Your team has 10 minutes to present, and I'll hold up a sign when there are 5 and 1 minute left. When time is up, I'll open the floor to the judges for 5 minutes of Q&A, and at the end of the Q&A session, there will be 5 minutes for feedback. Your team now has 10 minutes to present.
Okay, welcome to soccer season, everyone. This year, FIFA is coming to Seattle, and as a commuter, I understand that the best way to get downtown is by using public transportation. But I also understand that I am able-bodied, and I grew up being able to speak English, which makes my experience very simple. But today, we're looking at the lives of both the mobility impaired and the limited English proficiency commuter, and how their experiences may not be the same. Before we begin, allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Lillian.
My name is Carolyn. My name is Wendy. And my name is Nana.
And today we're introducing you to Metrofy, an all-in-one mobile app that offers multilingual communication and accessibility features that allows all commuters get to where they need to be, especially as we gear up for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. So, to begin, we're looking to assist Metro King County today and develop a strategy that will make public transportation more accessible. The main issues are that 1, the mobility impaired individuals often face difficulty accessing quote-unquote accessible routes, and 2, there's a limited amount of multilingual communication available. That's why we're introducing Metrofy, an app that can translate key information for our LEP individuals and offer monitoring systems for our mobility impaired community. We also are implementing a marketing campaign along with this. Our result here contributes to a 9% ROI and a 50,000 NPV for the upcoming FIFA event. So let's dive in. I'll pass it off to Wendy.
Thank you, Lillian. Now let's take a closer look at the current issues. King County Metro is facing challenges impacting 2 vulnerable communities. If you're a light rail commuter like myself, you probably noticed the escalator and elevator outages happening very frequently. So when these systems are down, it creates a serious problem for those who are mobility impaired, which relies on them to get around the station. And as for the LEP individual who makes up roughly 10% of the population in King County, they're facing difficulty because most of the Metro updates are announced solely in English. This language barrier makes it hard for them to stay informed about important changes and route changes, impacting their ability to travel efficiently. With the FIFA World Cup coming up, we're expecting an even more diverse group of commuters coming together. So it's clear that we need a solution to make the system more accessible and more inclusive for everyone.
Okay, so let's go ahead and open up that QR code. If you can't access the link, that's not a problem. We have a view up here on the slides for you. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So, welcome everyone to the Metrofy interface. To begin, let's see what kind of activities we can do here. Go ahead and click on the profile button on the bottom right-hand side, and this should take you to a screen that details your name, any recent trips, and more options to explore the city, all in one place. Now, let's dive into our solution that will assist our LEP individuals.
Yeah, thank you, Lillian. So to begin, please tap the home button located at the bottom left of the screen. Now, so let's choose language to access a list of languages. So user can choose their preferred language on the app. For example, if you select Japanese, you'll be taken to a screen that demonstrates what this looks like when searching for a bus stop in that language. Now let's return to the home screen and navigate to Ask for Help from MetroMate. This chatbot can assist users in multiple languages. Here I ask MetroMate for direction to Lumen Field in Spanish. The assistant is capable of providing 24/7 support, making it easier for users to get their information they need. Now click Ask, then tap the home button again, select the language, and choose English. Lillian will now walk you through our feature on sustainability integration.
So, before we get into our solution for our mobility impaired individuals, let's just briefly go over some more features of Metrofy. So, go ahead and click on that EcoCheck button. We want Metro to emphasize sustainability, so we included this feature where users can check CO2 emissions saved on all of their trips. This is easily shareable for additional word-of-mouth promotions. So now you can go ahead and click Continue and take a look at our rewards system. So this is one of our features that will encourage users to download our app. So with free or discounted offerings, users will jump at the opportunity to download, especially during FIFA season, where most people want to explore the local things that Seattle has to offer. Now, just for purposes of this demonstration, you can go ahead and click that rewards button, and Wendy will explain how Metrofy can assist our mobility impaired individuals.
Our accessibility route page will show you where all the accessibility features such as escalators and elevators are located within the station. And in addition, if you click on the continue page, it will show you the escalator and elevator availability page. The screen will show you real-time updates of the equipment, making it easier for those who are mobility impaired to see which route to take when they're entering and exiting the station. By installing the monitor system that will be attached to the escalator and elevator, this will provide live performance update, which will enhance operational efficiency, safety, and accessibility. And now, if you click on the home button and click on the report and issue page, this will take you to our report system page. This is where we can interact with our user, getting their real-time feedback on their experiences with navigating the transit system, and we will quarterly review all the feedbacks and make adjustment accordingly. So now we have our solution. The next question is, how are we going to market this? I'll pass on to Lillian with our marketing strategies.
Okay, so now that you guys have had a chance to take a look at Metrofy, our product is in place, and we've also decided to make it completely free since this app should be as accessible to as many people as we can possibly reach. Our location is in the palm of your very own hands where most people nowadays can access it. But let's really zoom into our promotions where a majority of our efforts for Metrofy will take place. So our promotions are offered on 2 different platforms in a variety of different languages. First, we have our in-person promotions, where we can post flyers on high-traffic bus stops, inside public transit vehicles, and even at airports, leading up to and during FIFA promotions. Then our online platforms will take on social media, targeting those who may be headed to Seattle for the World Cup and our local Seattle community. We're also looking to provide links on the official King County websites. Now I'll pass it to Carolyn, and we can discuss our timeline.
Yeah, so how do we implement this project? For Metrofy, we will first take around 10 months to develop the app, then we'll see testing following the development. Then in March, we will finally launch Metrofy. And of course, app maintenance follows. And as for the monitoring system, we will install and test the monitors starting in April, then put them in use in June. Next, we would start promoting Metrofy in person and online in February, all the way to FIFA and onwards. And then finally in June 2026, FIFA kicks off. As for our KPIs, we will be seeing a return on investment of 9% with a net present value around $50,000 solely on the increase of revenue that FIFA travelers will bring. This is all detailed in the appendix, which we can get into later if needed. And for Metrofy, we will also want to see 35% of riders using our app when they are using Metro services. Lastly, we also care about user satisfaction. We hope that 50% of our users are satisfied with our app, which will be done through surveys and app ratings, etc. So then let's move into some risks associated with Metrofy. First, we have the risk that some people might not feel comfortable or motivated to use our app. We are working on this through key incentives like the reward system, the discounts mentioned before, along with the detailed guidance available on the app. We would also give extra training to first-line Metro workers, like the bus drivers, so they know how to best help the riders. We might also see data crashes and application bugs, which we will handle that through regulatory maintenance. And lastly, we might see the monitoring system malfunctioning, and to combat that, we would have reports in app and the maintenance crew on call. And then I'll pass it on to Nana to talk about our impact.
Yeah, so the implementation of Metrofy brings significant impacts throughout different areas. Socially, it really empowers the mobility, restricted and the LEP individuals by breaking down the barriers, especially during high-demanded events like the World Cup. The app enhances accessibility for all. And as for the economic impact, Metrofy really boosts the public transit use and supports small business through our reward system. It strengthens ties between Metro and the local economic, driving traffic to business and reducing the need for expensive accessibility services. And finally, Metrofy encourages sustainable transportation by reducing car use, easing the traffic, and lowering the carbon emission. It makes the public transit more efficient, leading to a greener King County. Now I will pass it back to Lillian.
So, in a city that never stops moving, neither should we. Metrofy is designed to make public transit faster, easier, and more accessible for everyone. With our features, we're transforming life for the average commuter. Join us in creating a more efficient and stress-free way to travel. Thank you all for your time today, and we hope you'll take our suggestions into consideration.
Thank you. We'll now begin the 5-minute Q&A session.
Thank you very much. We certainly will take your suggestions into consideration. Those are creative. I think you did acknowledge a problem, and you stated a current state, which is we do have limited, ability to reach more people. Specific groups of people are impacted, and we can enhance that. So those are all great ideas, and you promoting us doing this through your app, Metrofy. It's a cool name too. Yeah. And I'm sure you do know that we have other apps that supporting our services and customers are using. And I'm curious to hear in our questions and answers how you intend to integrate all of that into a much easier, user-friendly app.
For you. Oh, sorry. So as you can see, we looked at 4 main areas where we wanted to integrate everything. So we have our language, we have our accessibility, our reward system, and the live updates. So of course, right now I use One Bus Away, and that one has great live updates, but that's pretty much one of the only things I can do on that app. And then with My Orca, that's just a payment reload system, so it's not really as helpful with the things we want to do with Metrofy. And lastly, we have Transit app, which again has those live updates that are necessary, but lacks in the other categories. So with Metrofy here, we looked here and saw that there was a 5 on all ends, and that's how we're trying to integrate every single part of that app together.
I'm very curious about the financials and how you arrived at the $50,000 net present value. Could you walk me through those more?
Yeah, of course. Oh, hold on. There we go. Okay, so I did a financial calculating the net present value, and I started with the cost breakdown, which Metrofy it's gonna cost like $250,000 to develop the app, and this is with some research that I found online, which for a complex app like Metrofy, it's gonna cost like around 120 to 300K, and then so that's where we decided on the 250, and then for and then for the monitoring system, it's also this where it's we had for the modernization, which is like you have the monitors and everything, and ranges from 100,000 to 150. But because we're only looking at the monitors, because King County had already been like doing something with the infrastructure itself, and the reason why the timeline is starting in April was because they already put in cost for that. So for our solution, we're only focusing on the monitors. So that's why the cost breakdown looks like this, 80K. And then for marketing, we're taking into consideration of the labor costs, because FIFA is going to bring more jobs, right? And one of the jobs that we consider is the jobs that those people can like help put like signs on the bus, and that's labor costs, and adding on to the online advertising costs. And we also have an estimate of how many people that we want to reach. So by multiplying that, we got to the marketing cost. And for the cash flows, because we are looking at rights because FIFA travelers are going to increase Seattle population at the time of the game. So with that, rides are going to increase, and this number is the cash flow number. The revenue is solely based on like how many increase. We're not considering perpetuity value for Metrofy yet because we want to emphasize on the how FIFA will impact this revenue right here.
So it will be like a periodic visualization of it. I was just reason why I was looking at it was it like a one-time cost because we are going to have to maintain the application afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm good. It was just a quick comment.
Could you go to the slide where you had the app comparison?
The decision.
The scoring for the different apps.
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned that you're budgeting around 250,000 to develop a Metrofy app. Why not instead take some of the 250,000 and improve one of the other apps?
Yeah, sorry, I can take this one. So, what we were looking here for when we first started this decision matrix, we kind of did this at the beginning. And one of the big things we noticed was that these apps are lacking in multiple specific categories. And none of them really adhere to each other. So as you can see, One Bus Away and Transit app both have 5s in the live updates, but are both lacking in the rest of the categories. As for Metrofy, that would bring together all of them in one location. So even if we were to merge all of these together, yes, it would improve MyOrca to have better live updates, but overall, look, the reward system for One Bus Away and MyOrca and Transit app would still be at a 1, and then same goes for the other one, still on the lower end of things. So we decided to go with a new modernized app for this.
Thank you, judges. This concludes the Q&A session, and there will now be a 5-minute feedback session.
Great job in terms of the content. One thing that stood out for me was the Figma prop that you used, although for the first few seconds, kind of it just kept on showing the blank screen. So, Pat and you, I kept on hearing click this and then that and all that. So I was like, okay, should I try to fix here or focus here? But no, that's a real, we run into that situation more often than, I can explain here. So, but you all handled it very well. One thing, I felt like there was more marketing kind of, campaign on the more focus on the rewards kind of thing, revenue stream, which is great, more money, more for better kind of economy here. But the problem at heart was the accessibility for the King, problem around, and then what, the challenges around and then opportunities for King County Metro. So from that perspective, and I think from the rewards system is more for ongoing long-term customers. But the 750K visitors, most of them are going to be just the short-term surge. So that's one. The other one was, and then the other good feedback in terms of the accounting details and all. So there's a lot of math done. So that was very impressive.
I think overall it was a really good presentation. It did seem to be more app focused though. I think there are a lot of other things that could have potentially been done on the physical side as well that weren't explored. If you think about visitors, right, coming in from, say, Germany, for example, they don't probably have access to local data on their phones. What do they do, right? They can't use anything that you have. How do you accommodate those folks? Those are some of the things you could have considered. And second, just adding on to what Samir said, right? When you give someone an app right at the start, like you did with the product demo, people get distracted. They're not going to pay attention to what you're seeing. They're going to be focused on the app itself. So be cognizant of that. You can always do that towards the end. Hey, we have this app here. Would love to show you, blah, 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 but don't start off with that. Okay. Thank you.
Now, this is a comment on like Sleepless in Seattle. You also said city never stops. So that was very much in line with the problem at that hand. So just wanted to share that. So that was great. Thank you.
I just want to add that you did highlight our values here, which I appreciate a lot. Equitable access. You also touched on the economic component, which is great. We are looking at long-term sustainability of the region, and not only moving people from one place to the other, but also to be able to access opportunities. So it ties in nicely with our long game. You talked about the environmental impact as well, which again, it is important. To the earlier feedback that was given, more focus on the accessibility and also the language access, and facilitating that component will be very, very helpful. But you came up with very creative ideas. Sometimes it's difficult to fix an old thing. You went with the model of build it from scratch. Easier, more predictable, but you did use feedback from the existing to create a new, which is appreciated.
Thank you, team, for your hard work in preparing for the competition. The winner of the final round will be announced by 4:20 p.m. Please join us in this room at that time for the award ceremony. Thank you.
How loud this is? Hello.
Welcome to the final round of the third annual Equitable Futures Case Competition. Our judges are Lita Beard, an associate teaching professor of marketing and international business; Ernest Kendaliki, the deputy general manager of King County Metro; Samir Saab, a senior manager at Deloitte; Maggie Zhang, a senior consultant at Deloitte; Sahil Joshi, a manager at Deloitte; and Depreciate Malai, a manager at Deloitte. Reminder, you may only use the slide deck you submitted. The final round is being recorded, and if there are any students here from the final teams, please leave the room, as the final teams are not allowed to watch each other's presentation. Your team has 10 minutes to present. I'll hold up a sign when there are 5 and 1 minute left. When time is up, I will open the floor for the judges for 5 minutes of Q&A, and at the end of the Q&A session, there'll be 5 minutes of feedback. Your team now has 10 minutes to present.
Good evening, everyone. Now, as we start off this presentation, I'd like for you to think about your journey here today. Now, how many bus stops do you think you passed by this morning? Could it have been 5, perhaps 10? Now, King County Metro Services operates at 8,000 bus stops with 115 million rides. But it's not the bus stops that makes King County Metro Services unique. It is, in fact, the people that we serve, which is why it's crucial to secure King County's legacy that we make sure they have access to the best possible and accessible transit routes for the communities that need it the most. My name is Shinjini, and today, along with my team of Meena, Samindi, Mahima, and Arushi, we present to you the LINK Plan, a strategy to expand the execution as well as the legacy of King County and to make transit more equitable. Going into our executive summary, we want to pose a solution to the question of how we can improve King County Metro Services transit system for mobility restricted individuals as well as LEP individuals. Upon analysis, these are the 3 challenges that we've discovered. Therefore, our solution utilizes an integrated system that provides multilingual support as well as ways to improve accessibility, and we utilize creative marketing strategies before and after FIFA to promote community engagement. And this is supported by our NPV of 83 million. Now, going on, we'd like you to meet a very important person named Sophia. A working mother of 2, she lives in Beacon Hill, and she utilizes public transit a lot, much like 20% of the King County residents that also have mobility restrictions. So what are the pain points that she could face on her transit journey? Well, first of all, when navigating her transit modes and finding different options, consumers are usually overwhelmed with the various different types of transportation offered on different interfaces, on apps and or websites. Not only that, after that, after the fact, when Sophia and users reach different bus stops, they have a hard time because they are unaware of transit changes as well as route delays. In fact, with Access Transportation, they only had an on-time performance of 86.5%. Finally, when sitting on the bus or the link, LEP individuals have problems understanding live English announcements. So the question stands, how can we create a seamless and accessible transportation experience that helps mobility restricted and LEP individuals feel more connected as well as confident? Which is why we have the Link plan. First, we'll leverage our new app as well as its features. Then, we integrate physical kiosk solutions. Finally, we navigate engagement with FIFA marketing campaigns to keep King County's legacy strong. Now, I'll pass it off to Mina.
Welcome to Linkways, which is the transit app that serves as the centralized hub for accessible transportation solutions. And this is the one-stop shop for everyone who wants to get from point A to point B. I'll be running you through the 4 main steps in Sophia's user journey, beginning with the first login screen. When she enters the app, she will be prompted to switch to her preferred language if needed, as 30% of King County's residents speak another language at home. Linkways will ensure that these individuals have access to transportation instructions and routes in their preferred language. Next up, Sophia can customize her user profile based on her mobility needs. For example, she may denote wheelchair access as one of her needs, as well as confirming her ADA certification status to unlock access to other services such as the Access Bus. Next up, when she selects her starting point, there is also a destination that she has to set. Once she sets this, Linkways will ensure that the route that is chosen for her best aligns with her profile. With over 10 plus different transit options in the King County Metro system, including Access, High Shuttle, and also DART, it's imperative for users like Sophia to understand what route suits her best. As she's on the road, if she encounters any obstacles such as sidewalk damages or curb damages, it's possible for her to report these using our app. For example, when you see this red button right here, she will press this and she'll report the specific kind of obstacle that she encounters. This information is sent instantly to other users of Linkways to ensure that they can also avoid these obstacles that Sophia had to face. This is all possible with our proposed partnership with Waze, where we'll be using their crowdsourced reporting system. Linkways will pull live data as well as crowdsourced data to ensure that users have live updates on obstacles as well as delays and also escalators, elevator statuses, and maintenance issues. Next up, to streamline her route process, she will receive time-sensitive push notifications in her preferred language for detailed steps of her route. For instance, we'll see that she'll receive a notification to get off the stop at a specific time, as well as pull the yellow line. We will also be integrating kiosks into our strategy. We'll be strategically placing these in low-income and low-transit areas to encourage the use of public transportation services. Additionally, we'll be providing the top 8+ languages in the King County Metro System area for ease of comprehension and also increased usage for limited English proficiency individuals. In the case that people do not feel comfortable with sharing their information in the app and kiosk, they have the access to use the guest profile and save these routes on their phones using a one-time QR code or also SMS options directly on their phone. Now I'll be switching off to Samindi.
Now we will move on to Navigate FIFA, which will explore how we plan to integrate FIFA into Linkways. In our app, we will have a FIFA-themed interface, which will have event information, transit options, as well as fan zones, all accessible at the touch of a button. Our kiosk will have a FIFA-themed landing page, which will display game schedules, transit routes to get there, as well as key locations, all tying back to the expected rise of tourism in Seattle. Overall, we plan to enhance fan experience through the integration of seamless navigation and key event information into one resource. As you can see in our design mockups, we have our Juneteenth celebration labeled at the top, celebrated at the Seattle Center, as well as our FIFA-themed landing page displayed at kiosks. We also would like to implement key marketing strategies in specific locations in order to reach out to our target market. We want to start off with buses, with 30 million people seeing advertising on a bus in 1 week and 90% of people living within 5 minutes of a bus route. We want to implement billboards, targeted social media posts, as well as transit stop advertising. Moving on, we want to explore how we plan to keep Linkway's legacy strong by implementing post-FIFA marketing strategies to ensure that consumers like Sophia are still exposed to our app and our kiosk on their daily commutes. Again, we will be implementing specific marketing strategies on buses, airports where we plan to reach out to the target population of King County and move on to people coming into Seattle even after the World Cup, targeted social media posts which can be shared within different communities, and finally transit stops as well. Passing it along to Mahima.
We only have a little over 1 year before the FIFA World Cup commences in Seattle, so we would start immediately with stakeholder engagement, followed by UI and UX design. From there, we would then reconnect with our stakeholders and develop our prototype. Then we would launch a minimal viable product in Southern King County to close off the year. We can use what we find to then develop our prototype further and have a full-scale testing across all of King County. From there, we would launch our app and our kiosk services in March so that users such as Sophia can have access to our full services before our full final marketing phase. Then, we can also have FIFA adoption and implementation ready for June when the World Cup kicks off. We have identified 3 key performance indicators to measure if our services are truly bringing value to the communities that we aim to serve. The first is a Net Promoter Score greater than 50, indicating that Sophia and other users are successfully able to get from point A to point B, both reliably and in an accessible fashion, and that they are able to recommend this service to their friends. The second is 60 plus kiosk interactions per day, and the third is a click-through rate of 5%. I'm now going to pass it off to Arushi.
Thank you. So with the addition of our app, kiosk, and the increased purchases due to our FIFA marketing campaign, we can see that the overall NPV across 5 years is 83 million, with the majority of our revenue coming in 2026. We can analyze the initial cost breakdown for the development in 2025 and how that changes in comparison and in addition with the 2026 marketing expenses. We understand that our project comes with 4 significant risks, and we analyze the likelihood of each. For example, Sophia could have user adoption challenges when faced with the kiosk for the first time. There could be security attacks, technical failures, and the user and the campaign could have a low effective rate. To mitigate these, we will offer incentives, we will conduct and perform frequent security assessments, establish a backup system, and conduct A/B testing to analyze longevity. Now, passing it off to Shinjini.
Bringing it back to the very core of King County Metro services, we want to help the people that we serve by providing this integrated application, Linkways, physical kiosk solutions, as well as our community-centered marketing. King County's Metro services can continue to be the very pillar of transportation for all. Because at the end of the day, it is about the people that we serve and the legacy that we leave. Thank you for your time, and now we can take any questions that you might have.
Begin the 5-minute Q&A session.
Thank you very much. Great ideas. Yeah, we're looking forward to what we can apply. And it appears we have a lot to take away from your presentation. I like how you all showed up. You identified the problem you're trying to solve. You walked us through the process, how you're going to do it. I particularly like how you are building on and leveraging existing frames like FIFA. FIFA is huge, and they spend a lot of money advertising. So if you can tap into it, you can certainly reach wider limits. So great creative idea. I also like how you're looking at integrating our systems, especially the bus stops, the number of bus stops. Do you know the actual number of bus stops that we have in our organization? There are many. Yeah. So great work. I like how what you are proposing, and I believe that panel will have questions for you to help enhance the work that you shared with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
So great work in terms of like the many things like I'll talk more about the feedback to save time here on the Q&A. The link was the title, branding, and all that of your presentation was fantastic, and it was all connected. and your exhibits are very impressive. The depth and then breadth. Can you elaborate a little bit about of the investment? How much of that money will come from what sources?
So if we go to our KCMS yearly revenue, bottom, yep. Okay, so this is the current financials for KCMS, and what we are trying to look at is the sound transit payments, which is payments coming in from users. And so we are hoping that from us, we are able to increase that revenue. Yes. And that's what we would use to fund our project and continue growing.
Good. One more question on the accessibility. So what kind of accessibility needs you have considered? You talked about personas, which were great.
Yeah, so when it comes to accessibility needs that we have considered, so a big way that we will look at these certain accessibility needs is when users can create a profile on our app. And with that, we look at accessibility needs such as mobility restrictions, mainly such as wheelchairs and our walkers and our canes, to ensure that we are providing the best possible transit system that there is, or transit route that there is, as well as aligning them with a certain mode of transportation that is best for their mobility restrictions, such as access or DART or rapid ride, whatever they need to make sure that they get from point A to point B, which is what our app will be solving.
Thank you.
So really nice job, team. Can you expand a little bit on when the people come in from FIFA, the 750,000 people, how are you going to make sure that their needs are met while not disrupting the locals who are using King County Metro right now?
So since we are using the crowdsourced data using Waze, we'll ensure that if there's any delays in transportation, this will be noted in the app. And additionally, we will be placing kiosks in not just low-income and low-transit areas, but also major hubs and locations around the greater Seattle area that tourists will likely go to, such as the Pike Place Market and also the airports and also the Space Needle. And so since the crowdsourced data ensures that any updates on transit access is constantly updated and crowdsourced from not just the King County Metro system, but also from individuals who use the app, we can make sure that whoever uses the app has the best accessible route for them, including the tourists from other areas.
Great presentation. I got a quick question on the partnership wise. Is there a reason why the team decided to choose Waze as a partner versus the other apps, or utilize the existing apps that we have?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the reasons that we decided to partner with Waze is mainly because of their crowdsourcing implementation. Waze has a long history of partnering with different they've partnered with the city of Chicago as well as the state of Tennessee to implement kind of similar measures that we're looking at with making transportation more streamlined, as well as notifying users about traffic jams and or delays. Not only that, with partnering with Waze, we see all the different types of alert types as well as roadways that they inform users of, including those freeway ramps and walkways that we can get more information about and making sure these are reliable. Finally, the biggest benefit of using Waze is that it is free. They will allow us to partner with them for free and utilize their transport software development kit that they've also utilized with other ride-hailing services such as Uber and or DoorDash. So by partnering with Waze, I think we could really, really implement a much more streamlined transit process for our users.
Thank you, judges. This concludes our Q&A session, and there will now be a 5-minute feedback session.
Again, you did a great job. I like how you are leveraging existing systems. We are being cost conscious as well. So that is great. And also you highlighted something that I think is really important when it comes to the services we deliver. I would walk away from this presentation and I would remember Sophia. Why? That's the community we serve. You made it personal. You told Sophia's story, how we can help Sophia get around more easily. So that is very, very impactful as you share the work that we do, and also making the case for the community to continue to invest in us. So thank you very much for mentioning that.
Thank you for your presentation. It was really good. Really appreciated how you covered the customer profile. Sophia, as Ernest mentioned, did a great job with handing off from one person to the other. It did feel a little bit rushed towards the end, like you were trying to wrap things up. Another thing I noticed was you stuck to one persona, but there could have probably been other personas that you could have looked at. The problem with just having one persona is you sort of get a tunnel vision and you focus on solutions for just that one persona. And you likely missed out on some other solutions, other ways to improve accessibility for riders. Just something to think about. And the other part of it, right, I think the Waze integration was a good idea. I think you answered that question really well with, why you chose Waze, why, and, all the background with that. But now that you have all of this data, what are you going to do with it? So if people reported, something is not working, then what? Are you going to fix it in 2 weeks? Are you not? So it's fine to not know that, but at least, you should have talked about it, that, hey, this is how we are going to do it. This is the long-term plan. And maybe we can't improve it for FIFA, but long-term we can improve King County Metro services.
So, the feedback that Sahil provided, I will just add like more personas is better, but also keeping the time in constraint in perspective would be like show like say 5 or however many personas, but just dive deep into just one. That would show that you've done like a deep dive and still manage the time on. Great feedback. You were able to use the space, like effectively. So it's like whoever was presenting or speaking came forward and then used this space instead of, just being behind the desk. So that helped kind of make the connection better. You also talked about the risk and mitigation. So that was great. In terms of prototype and then learn from that. And then before, like going further. So that was also positive. So overall, great presentation and content.
The bus went from left to right. Yeah, bus was moving from left to right. Yeah. Bus was not heading.
I noted those icons, breadcrumbs were very creative.
All right, absolutely great presentation. Loved how you guys were navigating, and you had placed each other strategically that it would flow properly. So we noticed those things. Amazing job. I also like how much research you have done on this appendix slide. So quite a lot of work has gone behind the scenes. A couple of things I would just suggest. You could have pushed more about, there are about 12 Kings County Metro applications already in place. Why create a brand new one except for utilizing the existing infrastructure that we could have had? And it would have made life much more simpler to look at. Thank you.
All right. I thought fabulous job, team. Again, I just kind of want to echo what my colleague said. I think I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about the FIFA Cup part of it, because that was part of the charge as well, as what are you going to do about that, and a little bit more detail on that. Other than that, I think you did a great job.
Join us in this room at that time for the award ceremony. Thank you. Thank you. It's 2:30.
So should we just we'll deliberate?
Oh, yes. I think it's in the room over here. Okay.
We'll be coming back here.
We'll come back here, yeah. We have a small Is it this way or this way?
Okay, have fun. Grand finale.
Hello.